Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Peggy Meyer. This is part two of the book Changing for Good. If you can see it right here, I am reading this book and I'm sharing what I'm learning from you. So if you missed last week's, you should go back to my videos in my Positive Solutions page and you can see it there, or you can go to my YouTube video, which is Positive Solutions, and you can search for my face and click on that one. So a little bit of a recap from last time. I am sharing what I'm learning from the book, Changing for Good. Last week, I gave an overview of the 9 processes of how people change, which is consciousness raising, social liberalization, emotional arousal, self-reevaluation, commitment, countering, environmental control, rewards of reinforcement, and helping relationships. I also briefly went over the 6 stages of change: pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and termination. Today, I will be going over pre-contemplation and contemplation stages and some of the processes that are used in these stages. I will also give an example of how this might look in real life. So to start off, we're going to talk about pre-contemplation, which, if you remember from last week, is resisting change. In this stage, people feel safe. They don't want to change. They don't see that there's a problem. This is normal for them in everyday life. They deny that even a problem exists. When a contemplator has a loving person or people in their life that want to help them be a better person by pointing out a problem behavior, a pre-contemplator may deny the problem exists, resist any change or reason to change, or become defensive about any information about the problem. And they don't even want to learn about the problem, and they resist good intentioned information. They usually have good, rational, plausible explanations, or what I would call excuses, for their behavior. Oh, I've tried everything, nothing works. They rarely take responsibility for negative consequences of their behavior. Pre-contemplators may also blame others, the world around them, or simply it's their destiny. They may take their frustration out on other people around them, or they can turn inward and start thinking to themselves, I can't do this. I can't change. It's hopeless. They blame themselves and talk so negatively about themselves, they have a low self-esteem and can even get depressed because of it. To get a better picture of what this stage may look like for a person, let me tell you a story about a fictional person. Remind you, fictional, not real, but you could relate to this person possibly. This person is George. George is in his mid-40s, and he has a wife and 2 young teenage children. George enters therapy because his wife said he needed to change his ways, or else she was leaving. George had no idea what the problem was. He reports that his wife has said, I never spend time with her. He goes on to say, I spend time with her. I come home every night. We go to our kids' ball games. I go with her to family get-togethers for holidays and occasionally some other times on the weekends when she asks me to. We go on family vacations once a year. We go to the lake sometimes in the summer. We hang out with friends and have a few beers. I don't see what the problem is. I spend time with her. I can't believe she says I don't spend any time with her. She should be happy I do all that. I know some guys at work that don't even go home until really late and wouldn't even think about going to their wife's parents for the weekend, especially not on holidays. I don't even see what the problem is. George is definitely in the pre-contemplation stage, not seeing there is a problem, denying a problem even exists, blaming his wife for not even being happy for the things he does with her. But how can he move out of this stage and start seeing that a problem exists? There are 3 effective processes that can help move a person into the next stage of contemplation. One is consciousness raising. Before a person can begin to change something, they first have to become aware of that a problem exists. And George is nowhere near that right now. This can be gained through various sources, such as advertisements, articles, videos, movies, remembering information that's concerned people in their lives have given them in the past. Another is social liberation. These are things like external environmental alternatives, such as like the no smoking areas that are designed to reduce problem behaviors that could make it easier to change. Since a person may be becoming more aware of a problem behavior, they may look for others who have successfully changed. This includes finding support in like self-help support groups. Another process is helping relationships. A person looking to move into contemplation stage can really use the help of others to their advantage by allowing others to help them by telling them they are serious about changing and needing help. The pre-contemplator can ask the helper to communicate clearly and directly how they see you and your defenses so you can become more aware of them. The pre-contemplator needs to be communicating with the person, to the helper, that they're not ready to take action yet, but they're just trying to become more aware of what the problem is and more open to it and less defensive about the problem behavior. So when a pre-contemplator has become more aware of their problem and is learning about it and has started seeing the positive aspects in their environment that can make the change easier, and who have at least one person whom they can talk to that will listen to them and understands them and whom they can count on, a pre-contemplator is ready to move into the contemplation stage. So what might this look like for George? How would it look for George preparing to move into the contemplation stage? What homework would George need to do to move towards this change? So George needs to raise his level of awareness of what his wife means by he doesn't spend any time with her. He needs to gain understanding by what she means by that and her perspective on it. To do this, he needs to leave his resistance and defensiveness at the door and let his wife know he wants to have a conversation about what she means by him not spending time with her. He needs to be open, honest, and sincere that he wants to understand her point of view so he can become more aware of the problem. George's homework in this situation also includes noticing how other couples interact with each other in public and any thoughts or reaction he has about what he notices. Okay, so let's see the next stage about contemplation, which means change is on the horizon, contemplating change. In this stage, a person is aware that the problem exists. They are struggling to understand it and often will talk a lot about the problem and are thinking about solving it. But there's a lot of hesitation and fear that comes up, including fear of failure. They may have tried to change in the past and it didn't work. We've all made New Year's resolutions that we didn't follow through on, and this doesn't mean that we can't change or we don't have enough willpower. It just means we took action before we were ready to commit to fully changing. Waiting for the magic moment. Contemplators often have thoughts of changing when the time is right, when the kids go to school, or when the kids leave home, when things slow down. Then I'll be ready to do this. There is no perfect time. These thoughts just delay action. Wishing upon a star. It is similar to waiting for the right time, but wishing is just daydreaming that you could wake up one day and the problem would be gone and you didn't have to struggle to get there. Wishing is not taking action. So what does contemplation look like for George? George did his homework, eventually. It took him over a week to gather the courage and the right time to have a conversation with his wife about what she means by he doesn't spend enough time with her. He had wished that since she knew that he went to counseling, she would start the conversation and just tell him what she thought. But she didn't. He feared the conversation would end up like most others, in a fight and him sleeping on the couch. So he did what his therapist suggested finally, and he told his wife he wanted to have a conversation about what she means that he doesn't spend enough time with her. They agreed to talk on Wednesday after he got home from work. He envisioned packing up all his defenses, his denials that a problem exists, and his resistance into a suitcase and leaving it in the car when he got home from work on Wednesday night. To his surprise, with his defenses packed away, he was more open to hearing what she had to say, and the conversation didn't end up in a fight. She told him she wanted to spend more time with him by himself. She appreciates that his involvement in their kids' life by shooting baskets or tossing balls around in the evening with them. And she's thankful that he comes home after work each night and that they go to ball games together. That he goes with her to see her family and on their annual family vacations. But she would like to spend time with him by himself. To go places with him without the kids, without seeing family or friends, or maybe even a vacation, just the two of them. She told him she wanted to hang out and just talk. Just the two of them. And not just the few minutes right before falling asleep or the 5 minutes in the morning on the way out the door about what the schedule is for today. He had no idea. George now has the beginning of the awareness that the problem exists. So, what processes are useful during the contemplation stage to move someone towards the preparation stage? The first is emotional arousal. Emotions provide the energy to move past procrastination, past the fears of failure, the magic moments, and wishing upon a star, into a committed desire to change for good. A couple techniques that are often used to engage emotional arousal include like going to the movies, watching films, documentaries, or TV specials that focus on the problem you want to change, that really stirs your emotions. These are not the informational how-to videos. These videos need to tug at your heartstrings to stir your emotions. Don't have something like that. You can make your own mental movie. You can use your imagination to really concentrate on the negative aspects of not changing. If you do nothing, you don't change. You stay in the contemplation or even the pre-contemplation stage. What will your life be like 1 year from now? What are the consequences for wishing or waiting for the right time? Make it as vividly distressful and disappointing as you can so you can arouse your emotions and you can attach those negative emotions to that feeling. Another process is self-reevaluation. Now that you have a negative emotional picture of what your life would be like if you don't change, self-reevaluation is the evaluation of how disgusted we are at the problem at the present moment and looking forward to what we want our life to be like. Create a new image of what your life will be like 1 year from now. This is the new one. This is not looking like how disgusting it would be if you don't change. This is if you do change. 1 year from now, how will you think? How will you feel after you have successfully changed your problem behavior? What will your new life be like? Evaluate the pros and the cons of the behavior. What are the consequences to yourself and to others of not changing or changing? What reactions do you have or others have as a result of the change that you made or you didn't make? Making a pros and cons list. By combining the processes of the self-evaluation, consciousness raising, and enlisting the help of others, you can begin to track events that immediately precede the problem to gain a better understanding of your internal and external triggers and determine what the rewards, reinforcements, or consequences are that follow the problem behavior to keep you doing it. You can solicit your helpful friend or a family member to share their input and insights on what they see immediately preceding and following the problem behavior to help you gain information and awareness of the problem. A contemplator is ready to move into the preparation stage when they experience negative emotions such as disappointment, disgust, and when they have thoughts about or seeing warning signs or depictions of their problem. They have determined that their family, friends, and themselves would be better off without their problem behavior. Now back to George. George really loves his wife and his family and doesn't want her to leave. He envisions a life 1 year from now that he's disregarded the conversation they just had. He makes no attempts to spend more time alone with his wife. And now, 1 year later, he is alone. His wife has left him, the kids are living with her, and he has no real reason to come home after work. So he goes to the bar and he hangs out until he gets tired and then goes home. He still goes to his kids' game, but he sits by himself. He sees his wife talking and laughing with others at the games, and he gets mad at himself for not listening to her and not changing. He doesn't like that mental picture. It makes him sick to his stomach and makes him depressed and disgusted with himself. Then he started making a list of the pros and cons of spending more time alone with his wife. Some cons seem to kind of selfish, like I can't watch all the games on TV, or I'll miss seeing some of my friends at the lake. But some of the positives were seeing his wife happier. They could probably go on a second honeymoon that they had talked about. He thought he thought she would want to go somewhere without the kids. But turns out she does want to go somewhere without the kids. He would love to have conversations about their dream life after the kids are gone, but he realized that maybe he didn't have to wait until they were gone out of the house in order to spend that time with her. He remembers what his therapist said about noticing other couples in public and what his thoughts and feelings were. He noticed he would feel bad for the guy sitting by himself and eating and thinking he had no one to spend time with, or the couples that kiss in public. He would catch himself thinking, get a room. Some of these thoughts and reactions surprised him. He also started noticing his wife's reaction and response when he would say these things out loud. So he asked her help in catching him, making those comments about other people and other couples by just nudging him with her arm or giving him the look. Sometimes they would even talk about his responses, and his wife would be more open to expressing her opinion on what her view of a couple in love is in their stage of their life and what that looks like to her. George is starting to see more about how he would like his life to be like in a year from now, but he is not yet ready to take action. He needs to get prepared first. So next week, we will go over the preparation and action stages of change. If you like this, if you have any comments and questions, feel free to ask me, message me, and I will be happy to try to answer those for you. Please share this with others if you felt some value in this. And if you missed my first one, go back to my video section or on my YouTube page, Positive Solutions. Thank you and have a great day.